Welcome back. Welcome back. Like, share, subscribe, hit the like button. Appreciate my new subscribers. Thank y'all for giving me another chance and opportunity. I hope Trump does invoke the Insurrection Act. This is unbelievable. ICE is out there getting criminals off the street, and just like they said, if when they find the criminal, if other people are around him, they taking them too. We voted for him to get these people up out of here. You have never seen to break in ICE vehicles, take weapons. You done took warrants. You done took criminal records from people. I hope they catch every one of y'all. The Insurrection Act of 1807, or just the Insurrection Act, is the U.S. federal law that empowers the President of the United States to nationally deploy the U.S. Armed Forces and to federalize the National Guard units of individual states in specific circumstances, such as suppression of civil disorder, of insurrection, and armed rebellion against the federal government of the U.S. The Insurrection Act provides a statutory exception to, say, Cumanus Act 1878 that limits the president deploying the U.S. military to enforce either civil law or criminal law within the United States. He need to go ahead and do that. Lock y'all ass up. Y'all, it's the dumbest anti-American people I have seen. And any black folk that's out there protesting, you crazy as hell. You another one crazy as hell. Them Somalians have stolen billions of dollars. Fuck them. Billions of dollars you protesting for. Hell, they need to go. I hope he do the Insurrection Act. And like, this is insane. Bitch, if you don't want to be in America, get the fuck out too. And that's American city. If you don't want to be here, and hey Hassan, hey how you doing? If you don't want to be here, get the fuck out. Y'all sitting up here protesting, ain't said shit about Iran, the atrocities happening in Iran. Then you got out there about Venezuela and Maduro, release Maduro, and the Venezuelan people is happy. What the fuck? Dude, is George Soros paying y'all that much money to be crazy? Because if he paying that kind of money, I wish he'd give it to me now. I will get out there now. I'm just saying, this is insane. I do not support the Democratic platform at all. They go against everything that I believe in. But this is insane, and this has gone to another level. I hope he do invoke this shit. I do. Lock y'all dumb liberal asses up. I see why Malcolm X says the liberal is the worst enemy to black America. He ain't never lied on that. This is insane. I ain't never seen this amount of bullshit. Anyway, so I just gave you the definition of the Insurrection Act. He need to do that shit ASAP. Now, Minneapolis ICE shooting live updates. So I guess it was another shooting. The DOJ is appealing the order restricting ICE response, and they gonna win. Tensions continue over the weekend in Minneapolis as protesters clash in the streets with law enforcement. This is Hey Foster, how you doing? This is some bullshit. Following the second shooting there in about a week. And then the man that he shot was a damn criminal. You can't make this up. I mean, they shot Trinidad Walker gang members. I mean, this is, if you don't want to be here, leave. Get the fuck out. It's plenty of land around the world. Department of Homeland Security said on Wednesday federal enforcement officer shot a person who they said fled. And it was Venezuelans, and then they beat up the ICE agent with shovels. He shot the man in the leg, which is a non threatening injury. And y'all still gonna get deported. What the fuck is going on here? Shit. I I voted for this, and that's a fact. God damn. So a federal law enforcement officer shot a person who they said fled. What time is it? It's 4:35 here. I'm in Detroit. So that was the latest update. They appealing. So a judge restriction trying to restrict ICE. So they have appealed that to the appeals. That'll go to the Supreme Court, and Trump will have his 30-something win with the Supreme Court. But I hope he do invoke the Insurrection Act. Then two more St. Paul hotels cancel rooms for ICE agents due to safety concerns. The fuck? And then they still talk about Renee Good. I don't know. Are they brainwashing the people? Because I know they have classes on how to. Of girls must be paying damn money for y'all to act a damn fool. I get it, pay kind of money. Thank you, Foster. Thank you, cause this is insane, Foster. I voted for this shit. And if Renee Good would not have impeded on ICE, she would still be allowed to leave. You cannot use your car as a weapon. These are still federal agents, and they're going to throw the book at you. Trump is prepared to deploy 1,500 troops. He need to break this shit up. And Mayor Frey, dumbass. I mean, nobody, they so mad at ICE, but nobody is talking about the billions of fraud that these Somalis have committed. And the truth of the matter is, if you will honor ICE detainers when you lock up the people and they come in peacefully and get the people, this wouldn't even be happening. All the hey Erics, you know this wouldn't even be happening if you honor ICE detainers and work with ICE. You wouldn't have this. All the red states work with ICE. It's just the blue states. I don't support none of these Democrats. Do you want this? You really do. And the state is suing how? The state, you ain't gonna win. And then y'all go into a damn church, Don Lemon, dumbass. You went against the Face Act. You can't go in the middle of a church service, they worshiping God, and you go in there and start heckling. And did y'all know they got a satanic mural inside of Minnesota that honors the Satanists there? You go in the church and you disrupt this shit. Now y'all getting charged with that shit. That is insane. That is not peaceful protest. So the Department of Justice says Sunday it is investigating a group of protesters who disrupted service at a church where a local official with U.S. Immigration Customer Enforcement apparently serves as a pastor. He has a right to believe what the fuck he believes. It wouldn't be me. I'll be out there fighting. I mean, for real. Y'all done beat up Jake Lane, who went out there with a protest, which I'm not a fan of Jake Lane at all. I think it's very disrespectful to put bacon on a Quran and to burn a Quran just as it is to burn a Bible. But they fucked him up though. He ran out of there with his life. But this is insane. You have the right to believe what you believe, whether I disagree or not, but it should be peaceful. We have a right to disagree with each other. We really do. And this is fucking, but I thought that was funny. Man had blood running down his his neck. But anyway, but to go into a church service and then they still got Black Lives Matter out there, and they done 4 or 5 of them got they in prison right now for fraud, stealing millions of donations, buying mansions and shit. This is really heartbreaking. So now they saying health home care providers Minnesota's U Care owes over 200 million in unpaid claims. So now I guess they upset because the man detained from ICE in Minnesota, he died in a facility. Then a judge ordered release of a man illegally detained. Here we go with this bullshit. But nobody, everybody who's protesting ICE ain't saying shit about the billions of dollars. We up to $9 billion of taxpayer money being stolen. But y'all ain't said, but that's okay. But now they got something saying that this shit is tied not only to elections, but to the Democratic Party getting millions in donations. Fuck them. Now that's how I feel. All right, I'm gonna get into some old stuff and then let me go to Minnesota one. I had to. Where is it at? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's talk about the fraud.
All right, what's going on, everybody?
This
Welcome
is
to the
the
Daily
Daily
Discourse.
Discourse, and
I'm
I
your host
like him.
Arturo, and we got a full show tonight. Is the DOJ, is Donald Trump's Department of Justice looking for ways to ban transgender people from being able to purchase weapons,
Okay, we're not
purchase
talking
guns?
about that, so let
We're
me
going to talk
get over
about
that.
people in the chat
We're not
getting
talking
this
about
thing,
trans.
and they're still finding more people to arrest. We're talking about over $500 million lost to fraud, okay, of our taxpayer dollars. So let's dive right in and get started with it.
Tonight, another man charged in the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case. A man federal prosecutors say played a big role in funneling millions of dollars in taxpayer money out of the country. Blue News has a
Wait a minute. Then they got caught with $700 million hidden at the airport. They've been taking millions of dollars to Kenya, buying buildings, constructing buildings, sending money to terrorist group Al Shabaab. But they don't want ICE. But they ain't talking about this shit. The money. The money. They were carrying suitcases full in there, buying luxury homes, luxury cars, wearing designer clothes. What the fuck? That's why. they there.
With the brand new charges today.
The 74th person to be charged in the $300 million Feeding Our Future meal fraud case, Ahmed Naji Sheikh, is the brother of one of the most notorious defendants, Abdiaziz Farah, who was recently sentenced to 28 years in prison.
And he also has two other brothers that were involved in this too.
Right.
Convicted with a group of others of stealing $50 million of taxpayer money. Now his brother Sheikh is accused of helping him launder that money.
I think this guy in the middle right here, I think this is the one we're talking about, because I've already seen this guy and this guy as his brothers. All right, this is the head honcho right here. All right, this is the second in command. He was getting a lot of the money, buying property over in Africa. This is his brother. This is also his brother. And I guess this third guy in the middle is his brother as well. Now this chick, she was, I forget what state she was in, but she was like in Washington or something like that, really far away. They had her come in to try to send some money to some of the people on the jury, and she got caught as well. So she went down for that as well. And both of the brothers were also in on getting her involved to pay off the jury so they can hit them with, not guilty verdicts, I guess.
Text messages between the brothers included in the indictment show $138,000 cash, $270,000 cash, and a money order for $300,000 sent from Farah to Sheikh in Kenya. $1.287 million sent in a matter of days. The indictment says Sheikh helped Farah buy an apartment building and invest in other real estate in Kenya, all with money that was supposed to feed kids during the pandemic.
Oh, man. Oh, look.
So my point is now the FBI is in Kenya now. Like they gonna get their money back. This shit is insane. And Ilhan Omar sent her bitch ass back too.
Welcome to Explain America. I'm your host, Kyle Becker.
This is Explain America.
One of the congresswomen that we've been following for a long time is someone who just absolutely makes some people's skin crawl. You might know her as the congresswoman out of Minnesota, and her name is Ilhan Omar. She's a squad member, and she's best known for saying inflammatory things and really inciting rhetoric against American citizens and disrespecting our country. And a court case has just gone through that really makes her look absolutely terrible. But before we get into that, please like, share, and comment Explain America. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, Ilhan Omar herself has been under a cloud of ethical questions since the day she first got into office. The Somali-born congresswoman has simply just defied our norms, our standards, and in some cases our laws. And it's about time that she become under an even bigger microscope. Because
she need to go back to Somaliland.
Who was considered to be a one-time enforcer for Omar's campaign, that's according to Alpha News, pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and one count of conspiracy to commit money laundering in a fraud scheme that exploited a federally funded child nutrition plan during the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, that is just sickening. Now, a statement that came out on this is that
and he was on her staff, one of her staff. She got them.
Is yet another reminder.
How is the bitch worth $30 million? You started with shit, bitch. Go back.
Of the vast reach of this fraud and the scale of the crisis we face in Minnesota, one of the prosecutors said there. So from December 2020 through January 2022, Saeed participated in a fraudulent scheme to obtain millions of dollars in federal child nutrition program funds. He and his conspirators received approximately $3 million from the scheme, and he'll be sentenced at a later date, but is expected to face 25 years in prison. But
as he should.
Herself is not being implicated in the.
She need to go too. And you ain't never addressed the fraud in your community. Hold on. Now we got 300 million
Today we're digging into
Medicare.
a massive Medicaid fraud.
This is Nelly Miranda. I like her.
To cost just $2.6 million a year. But within months, cost ballooned. In 2021, spending hits $21 million. In 2024, it soared to over $104 million. And in just the first half of 2025, another $61 million gone. That's over $300 million in less than 5 years for a program that projected a 5-year cost of $15 million. And here's the kicker. Most of that money came with barely any oversight. Just, here's the funds, do what thou wilt with it. Ridiculous.
Court documents are spelling out what investigators call an explosion of exploitation in Minnesota. Those documents detail a spike in a sector investigators say is ripe for fraud. Housing stability service claims went from an early estimate of $2.6 million in state dollars to a program paying out more than $100 million in 2024.
8 different spots across the metro saw searches today. Now, documents say that each one is connected to a scheme to defraud Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Service. Now, this program uses Medicaid money to help people struggling find a place to live.
Now, fast forward to July 17th, 2025.
That's all we're
Federal
going to do on
agents
that. I just want, but y'all mad about ICE don't want to talk about the damn fraud. Now, this the man that almost won mayor of Somali.
Somali can be, resonate what we have here in the United States, the democracy that we have. How can you help us, be a better country and build back what we used to have back in long time ago? So hopefully, we will be able to help our country, our former country, Somalia, and show what we can do here.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for
This
watching.
is paralegal.
Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. Future fraud, the $250 million fraud that came out of the state of Minnesota. He's a prominent backer of that, and he lent his name and his political clout to that fraud. Check it out. But before we do, y'all, the worst state to live in.
Oh, shit. And he almost became mayor. He almost became mayor. Even though they got a stupid ass mayor now.
How can the politics in Somalia...
Oh, hold on, let me get here.
Ikram calling us to an event here in South Minneapolis, organized by her and Amy. And at that time, we saw a couple hundred of you coming out, right? Speaking out about the stop payments, the money that was being stopped from your reimbursements. Immediately when I got there, I was extremely proud of all of you and surprised. And I had Dawson immediately take a picture of what was going on, and we emailed it out to the governor's office saying, this is a whole lot of folks that are being affected right now. And literally within minutes, it was a Friday afternoon that happened, within minutes they emailed us back saying, let's meet Monday morning.
So, y'all, Minnesota has a large Somali population, and I'm all for people from your community representing you, particularly in the House of Representatives.
I'm not.
The local state house and the National House of Representatives, because that's what the idea of the House is all about, right? Your representative should represent you, should be like you, right? One of us. But hopefully we're not communistic and socialistic, are we? And Mr.
Now, wait a minute. And they disrespected the black community. We not black. We not this. We not that. They have disrespected black and white Americans. Get the fuck out of here. Here go $1 billion. This is the $1 billion.
Fraud in the state of Minnesota and what's being done about it.
Federal agents conducting raids at 8 offices and homes yesterday, the latest in a series of high-profile investigations.
America, we just got confirmation of what might be the biggest government fraud scandal in U.S. history.
This
the
is
acting U.S. attorney for Minnesota
Tyson Dela
that the
Cruz.
government fraud in Kim Waltz's state will exceed $1 billion. We're talking
It's
about
over $1 billion
autism
now.
Centers, fraudulent housing programs, and the infamous Feeding Our Family scheme, where criminals claim to feed 1.6 million meals to children who didn't even exist. But here's the kicker. 1 out of 5 autism centers in Minnesota are currently under federal investigation, and the vast majority of the $100 million in housing claims are completely fraudulent.
That part.
Their investigations Acting U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Joe Thompson, tells me he expects the scope of fraudulent use of taxpayers' money will exceed $1 billion.
Thompson called it an extraordinary problem and said the fraud that's persuasive in this state is unlike anything he's ever seen. This isn't just a few bad actors. This is systematic, organized theft of taxpayer money on an industrial scale.
To me, that's astounding.
Oh, I'm gonna let this play.
It's an extraordinary problem, and the fraud that's pervasive in this state.
You know what's crazy? While we're talking about billion-dollar government fraud schemes, there's another system that's confusing and full of people trying to take advantage. Medicare. If you're 65 or older, you've probably experienced
Okay, well, we're gonna stop that there. We ain't got to go further on that one. Well, now it's up to $9 billion. I'm not gonna talk about this. I'm gonna delete that. They charge $430,000 to prep for him. This is Tim Waltz at the Sanctuary City. I'm not gonna play that because that's the Sanctuary. Now they have hired a sex offender for a government job.
Today, I want to ask a question.
This is Minnesota, and y'all out there protesting.
About why he left, but he does have this criminal complaint against him from 2014 and subsequent conviction of criminal sexual conduct in that case in 2016. He was accused of burglary and sexual assault after breaking into an apartment, and a victim, quote, felt someone pull her underwear down. The criminal complaint goes on to say the victim observed a male party standing over her. The suspect fled the scene, but a fingerprint recovered from the woman's apartment led police to Tindy. He eventually was convicted of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct. He was ordered to spend 200 days in the Hennepin County workhouse. Despite his
200 days, that's it.
He was able to first land a job at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency in 2018, and just this past April moved to the Minnesota Department of Education. A statement from
Around kids.
confirms he's no longer employed there as of June 27th. Wilson Tindy is not a current employee at MDE, the statement says. He was a probationary employee in an internal role at MDE for approximately 2.5 months. He did not interact with students, visit schools, or have access to private student data. Nobody can answer if he ever underwent a criminal background check. In 2009, the legislature passed a law known as Ban the Box, which eliminated a checkbox question on an application asking job applicants if they have a criminal record. State agencies can but are not required to do a background check until the person is granted an interview or offered a job. We knocked on the door at Tindy's home but got no response.
He's not just some paper pusher. He was appointed as Director of Internal Audit for Minnesota's Department of Education, a role responsible for safeguarding taxpayer money. But in 2016, he pleaded guilty to criminal sexual conduct. The facts are, he broke into a woman's home and assaulted.
But these are the people y'all protesting against. And you hired him for a government job. This is insane. I ain't never seen nothing like this. Well, he didn't win, so we ain't gonna talk about him. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that. Okay, that's all the same. I'm gonna put that under sanctuary.
Minnesota lawmakers lawmakers have been busy all day inside the Capitol as they try to wrap up the state's budget before tomorrow morning's special session deadline. But one other conversation is dominating talks, and that's whether undocumented immigrants should be eligible for MinCare. ABC 6 News
Fuck
reporter
no.
Chandler Jackson joined us last half hour. Joining us now again from St. Paul. And Chandler, you've been monitoring the special session all day, so how are talks going on this particular issue?
Well, Robin, if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be lengthy. The House of Representatives jumped right into the fire this morning with that bill to remove MinCare eligibility for undocumented adults, but leaving children on the plan. Now, lawmakers had a lot to say, oftentimes making heated comments, but in the end, the bill passed the House by the slimmest of margins. Every Democrat except 2 voted against the bill.
Every Democrat but 2 voted against the bill. I'm going to keep him for sanctuary. So they passed the bill to get the immigrants off. Now, this is the representatives, Hortman and her husband, who were unalive, and the government said Tim Waltz told him to do it, and he was a part of his cabinet. He got to go too.
And accused of killing Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark made his first court appearance today. Vance Bolter also faces charges of shooting a second lawmaker, State Senator John Hoffman, and his wife Yvette. Prosecutors say Bolter stalked his victims like prey and shot them in cold blood. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher here now with the latest developments. Michelle?
Mark, we learned today that extensive planning went into this attack. Investigators say that included a police-style disguise and a list of dozens of targets.
One man's unthinkable actions.
You paid him.
The state of Minnesota.
Chilling new details in the politically motivated attack that left Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark dead, and State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette wounded. Murder and stalking charges announced today for 57-year-old Vance Bolter, who investigators say stalked his victims like prey.
He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights. In the early morning hours of June 14th, Belter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them.
Federal investigators laying out the chilling timeline. Senator Hoffman and his wife shot at their home in Champlin just after 2 early Saturday. Bolter then allegedly targeting another lawmaker who was not home 20 minutes later in Maple Grove. Shortly after 2:30, another shooting averted in nearby New Hope.
After learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman, New Hope police dispatched an officer to conduct a wellness check on the state senator who lived in New Hope.
Investigators say at 3:30, Bolter shot Representative Hortman and her husband in Brooklyn Park before escaping from the back of their home. A search of Bolter's car turning up 5 firearms, including assault rifles and ammunition.
Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials.
It was a really scary weekend, I think, for a lot of people, not knowing who was on the list.
Lobbyist Benjamin Olson, who lives in LA, works in Minnesota during the legislative session, tonight remembering his friend and colleague, Representative Hortman, fondly.
She was very curious, she was funny, but she was kind, and she really cared about people.
And an exact motive is still unclear in all this. Bolter could face the death penalty if he's convicted.
And these are the people that these protesters are protecting that have committed crimes.
Accused of killing Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark made his first court appearance today. Vance Bolter also faces charges of shooting a second lawmaker, State Senator.
Wow, I got to move this to my sanctuary city. Okay, let me delete that. We already did that.
Minnesota suspected
This is
assassin
unwoke
Vance
thoughts.
Bolter has been captured alive after an intense manhunt for fatal shooting of Democrat politician and spouse. Now, this one's very weird, guys. You could almost tell every single time something like this happens. It happened with Donald Trump, of course, whenever he was in Butler, Pennsylvania. It happened when he was golfing.
Let me go past this.
It's supposed to be like that. It's almost as if free healthcare. So that's kind of crazy. How much money do you think it costed for the state to do a 43-hour? That doesn't give you the right to point to the other side, like, see, because if someone knocks on your door with a Halloween mask on.
Hold on, I'm gonna delete that. We're not gonna do that. We are gonna talk about his confession letter, though. We are gonna hit that. Oh, this is her funeral service.
For Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband is now underway. These are live images here of the funeral service taking place inside the Basilica of St. Mary in Minneapolis. Hortman and her husband were shot and killed in their home earlier this month in what law enforcement says was part of a planned string of attacks against Democratic officials. ABC News' Zoreen Shaw joins me now for more on this. And Zoreen, we've been talking about this all morning long because it's so sad. We know that Governor Tim Walz is delivering the eulogy.
I don't know why, and the man said he told him to do it.
Walz isn't just speaking, he was also a pallbearer. He's sitting right there in the front. And we also know VP Harris is expected to attend today. We know former President Biden is also there. He paid his respects, and many, many other people have visited the two lying in state at the Minnesota State Capitol these last few days.
Yeah, and we see him in the corner there sitting down. We know that the suspect...
I don't know why they had him there, because he damns the killer said. That he paid, that he told him to do it. And this is the confession letter.
They told us that ICE was the problem and that somehow cracking down
this
on
is Kingdom Reacts. I love his channel. I absolutely love his channel.
Getting attacked. The numbers are quite shocking. And as that's just happening, the Minnesota assassin comes forward with a confession letter directly blaming Governor Tim Walz. This isn't just violence. It's a fallout. And we're about to walk through y'all clip by clip.
We're seeing these ambitious Democrat politicians who want to get their 15 minutes of fame off of the backs of our ICE law enforcement officers. We sadly, Maria, are seeing a 500% increase in assaults against our ICE enforcement operators. We're seeing Governor Walz, AOC, even Hakeem Jeffries likening our law enforcement to the Gestapo. It's disturbing. These are the men and women who are trying to protect us, trying to clean up America's streets. And the American people should know we are prioritizing the worst of the worst criminal legal aliens in this country. 75% of ICE arrests under the Trump administration have been of illegal immigrants who have prior convictions or pending criminal charges. So these are some innocents. We are getting rapists, gang members, known terrorists out of this country to make sure America's streets, like New York, are safe. We're seeing these.
So let me get this straight. You've got elected Democrats comparing ICE agents to Nazis. And now, shockingly, attacks on ICE are up 500%.
Actually, now it's 1,000%.
Sure. I mean, in all honesty, what exactly is what I'm doing? You know, I'm putting my the highest level. Who pulled the trigger name the governor as a part of the reason why. If this letter pointed the finger at Trump, would it even be a question of transparency?
Exactly. And Tim Waltz has not resigned.
Releasing this document to the public. But if you think this was some heat of the moment meltdown, this next clip proves that is more than calculated.
Some of the final moves of a murder suspect before he was captured, caught on video. More about the mysterious Minneapolis address connected to Vance Bolter next. I'm I'm speaking with a neighbor of murder suspect Vance Bolter in North Minneapolis. His name is Adam. He asked that we not mention his last name. I think you'll understand why here in just a bit. But Adam, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Liz. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today.
Just a horrifying few days, I know, for your family, but you've provided Alpha News with security camera video this weekend as a manhunt to find and arrest Bolter dragged on for more than 40 hours. Full disclosure here, the FBI, law enforcement, they also, I know, have access to your video. Thankfully, Bolter is now in custody. He's been federally charged with shooting and killing Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. Bolter has also been charged with shooting and critically injuring State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette. But there's part of the story that happened before these tragic incidents that no one seems to be talking about, along with the video that shows some of his actions before and even after the shootings. But first, what can you tell us about Bolter's living situation there? We understand that he was renting a room at him for the last couple of years, but he wasn't actually staying at the residence all the time. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. He was subleasing a room.
And you mentioned that he'd be there very late at night when you'd observe him there.
Yes, a lot of time he would come after midnight, and then there's also a lot of time where he would leave very early in the morning, like around 4 or 5 a.m.
What did you think of Bolter? What were your impressions?
Well, with the way he dressed and the vehicle that he drove, my wife and I thought that, he was a detective or maybe some kind of private investigator.
So the place where Bolter rented a room seems like a bit of a problem property in the conversations that we've had.
Hold on, let me put this down.
In fact, you said a drug overdose happened there not that long ago.
A drug
along
overdose?
with what has happened in the past. There's this security video of what happened last weekend. And again, just to be clear, you are cooperating with law enforcement. They have access to all of this video. Your security cameras record several moments of Bolter just before he allegedly committed these horrific shootings. In hindsight, it seems as though he was setting up Thursday, Friday. Sort of walk us through the timeline here, and what did you see?
We didn't see any of his vehicles at the house in the couple days prior to Thursday. And then we did notice after going back through our security footage that he looks like he arrived where he was subleasing at around 10 p.m. on Thursday night. And then he's there in the house and doesn't leave until about Friday around 11:50. And when he leaves Friday, you see him kind of dressed in the clothing where he looks like a detective or a private investigator, and he has like some papers or a notebook in his
Hey,
hand.
Blake, how are you?
And then, and we think he was
Yes, I remember you.
planning for the murders. And then around 5:38, 5:40 p.m., he comes back and he has different clothes on, maybe the same pants, but he has a different shirt, so he changed clothes while he was out. He then, around 7 p.m., has a
We're not gonna play all that.
bag into the vehicle that he was driving. That was one of the fake police.
So he was driving a fake police vehicle. He said Tim Waltz told him to unalive them. Tim Waltz is under investigation. I believe he did. Okay, I can delete that too. We talked about the funeral.
You recall there was a manifesto, then there wasn't a manifesto, then there was no manifesto, but hundreds of papers of hundreds of sheets of his handwritten statements in the car, a list, as if that's not what we understood by manifesto. They, police, authorities, said there was a manifesto. I didn't make it up. I didn't make that up. I didn't make up, that there was allegedly the silverware in the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting was wiped from Crook's house. I never ran with that because I never understood it at the time. And I think it probably might have turned out to be some of disinformation of the fog of war, not malicious way. The encrypted, whatever. I didn't say it. The authorities said there was a manifesto in the car. Then they walk it back.
Hold on.
Or, as a matter of fact, agree with that I'm going to say, well, you see, the murderer said, and Vance Belter is a man who was in the Congo helping Congolese, a bigger forehead and more root cause, multiple sources with direct knowledge of the investigation have confirmed to Alpha News that Belter's so-called confession letter was
This is Viva Frey.
handwritten letter discovered in the car. Okay, fine. After an extensive manhunt, are they not telling us the reason for which he blamed Minnesota governor? He made me do it. He controlled my mind. Is that the type of blame, or is it a matter of policy? Or is it a matter of inaction of policy? Okay, so there's nothing about the letter. Belter has been charged with killing Horton. The charging documents indicate Dr. Vance Luther was found. He had the letter. Okay, fine. The charger also. Get this. The charges also indicate that Belter bought the Buick and an e-bike for $900 from a man he didn't know at a bus stop in North Minneapolis. The man drove Belter to a U.S. bank where Belter emptied $2,200 from his account. Surveillance camera at the location showed him wearing a cowboy hat. An image from the video was released by the FBI. Security camera video from Belter's neighbor in North Minneapolis, where Belter rented a room, also shows him wearing a cowboy hat.
Okay.
Belter rented a room in northern Minneapolis, but also had a home in Green Isle.
I thought he was going to go into more about him implicating Tim Waltz, dumbass. He did deliver the eulogy at Hortman's funeral. I'm not going to even play that. I deleted that. Damn. I need to make some more.
This is opening up the door for people.
This is from Joe Rogan.
And it seems like they're confirming that non-citizens with this driver's license can vote.
Do you think the worst of the state government fraud cases have been uncovered, or do you have reason to believe there is more to come?
Oh, I think there's more. And look, we've got organized crime ring in Minnesota. I think it's been going on for years.
Tim Walz talk about organized crime that are committing all kinds of fraud in his state. But
right.
Nobody addresses the idea that those same organized criminals or other organized criminals might commit voter fraud. And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today.
This is paralegal.
That like button, my people. You know, that helps us out a ton. And, of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, this is a follow-up to our previous report on the Minnesota voter fraud situation. You may remember that not only has Minnesota found voter fraud in its state, but also when you look back to a 2023 law, okay, that's just 2 years ago, a 2023 law that was signed by Governor Tim Walz. You know, the guy who Kamala Harris had selected as her vice presidential candidate. When you go back to that law, it was a driver's license for all law, y'all. No joke. And we will loop back into that report at the end of this video so you can see the proof. A driver's license for all, and guess what? You didn't need to show your document. I shouldn't say didn't, because it is the current law. You don't have to show that you're in the country with permission. You don't have to, they don't worry about your permission to be in the country. So you can get a driver's license in Minnesota and then drive right across the country with when you don't even have permission to be in the country. But on top of that, y'all, on top of that, you also can register to vote right then and there. Now this might sound like, no, that's not possible.
That is possible. And that's exactly what the Democrats needed, more voters.
Details tonight about the Feeding Our Future fraud suspect now accused of witness tampering. That man went before a judge this afternoon ahead of his trial next week. As we've now learned, he's facing even more fraud allegations.
Investigators say Muhammad falsely claimed to feed 5,000 kids a day during the pandemic.
He got 28 years.
More than 17 million taxpayer dollars.
Before that case went to a jury, a woman dropped off a bag with $120,000 at the home of a juror.
And Minneapolis DFL party delegates say they are being investigated for misleading mail. They say a complaint to the state party alleges that the mailed postcard contradicted the retraction of Senator Omar Fateh's endorsement for Minneapolis mayor.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'll break a little news on this. I'm pretty close with a lot of people at Homeland Security, and allegedly there's a considerable amount, demonstrable amounts of evidence that the government has
that proves this.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And, of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, today we're going to be talking about all of your favorite people up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. All of the people who have figured out a way to get their little grubbies on different benefits by faking fraud and scamming, you know, but just by abusing the system. We're going to be talking about the Feeding Our Future fraud, which was, what, over $200, $300 million worth of fraud.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to delete this because we already talked about that. Okay, we know about the. I'm not going to talk about that. I like her. Oh, let me just tell her. I'm live. I'm live. So I'm gonna hang up. I'm live. Okay. Sorry, y'all. He kicked me out of what I was. Okay, I like this lady. Oh shit. Well, I won't be showing her today. Let me get out of here. Nope, not today. It's not gonna let me. Now this the housing fraud that's in the millions. This the other fraud.
Housing hustle investigation and the first guilty plea in a sweeping federal fraud case tied to Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services Program. The charges were brought in the wake of reporting by AJ Legault and our investigative team as they exposed fake meetings, forged signatures, and taxpayer money stolen. AJ joins us now with the latest on this story. AJ?
Jen, a systematic and wholesale attack on Minnesota's Medicaid system. That's how federal prosecutors describe what happened inside the state's Housing Stabilization Services Program, or HSS. And now, one of the business owners at the center of our investigation is admitting guilt. Homeless, desperate, and exploited.
And to wake up
right.
freezing ice cold and have to go outside and pee, and you can't move because you're so damn cold, it sucks. It really, really sucks.
Benefit to help find and maintain stable housing.
I had in the bathroom at Holiday, like it had a pamphlet, like a flyer that said need housing, need help with housing, housing stabilization services, and then with their name and their number.
Julie called, gave them her Medicaid insurance info. Then she waited for help through a freezing Minnesota winter. Help that never came, even as Medicaid was billed in her name.
And you're sitting there in the cold thinking, okay,
right therapy.
And that any day never comes.
When Carol Levin began investigating HSS companies, we found Liberty Plus's website to be as hollow as their promise to help Julie. It was just filled with stock images of people named Caregiver Name. Following CARE's reporting, there was an FBI-led raid on Adow's home, and he was among the 8 defendants charged in what the DOJ called the first wave of indictments. Anwar pled guilty Thursday morning to wire fraud, receiving $1.2 million in Medicaid billing. As part of the conspiracy, telling his employees to bill as much as they could, and he wouldn't scrutinize the purported billable hours. Anwar's brother, Assad Adow, ran another HSS company Carol Levin investigated.
We have so much work to do. I mean, I'm being asked questions here.
Well, people say you're not doing work, that you're billing thousands of dollars for work that's not being done.
Let's take the proper channels, man. I'm doing everything I am correctly.
Court filings indicate he too will soon plead guilty. Anwar Adow is facing.
I mean, they got so much fraud in Minnesota, and they out there protesting ICE with billions of fraud. This is insane. That was committed by the Somalis. I mean, you can't make this up. Okay, hold on. Now they got sham marriages and fake death certificates. These people doing everything. This is gonna be the last video. I'm getting ready to go to work.
Shield. I'll turn it over to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Etlow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Joseph Edlow. I'm the Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. I'm incredibly pleased to be here today to announce the successful conclusion to Operation Twin Shield, an enforcement effort of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services with absolutely invaluable support from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the FBI, and DEA. I especially want to thank St. Paul Field Office Director Samuel Olson from ICE for being here, as well as Abel Vicino from the FBI for joining us up here today. I also want to thank Jeff Brecht and Mike Kennard from FDNS, as well as Michael Borgen from USCIS. And also want to thank Bill McGinn, our FDNS chief in Kansas City, who was on the ground during the entirety of the operation. Since September 19th, officers from our Fraud Detection and National Security Directorate, working in teams, have conducted over 1,000 site visits across the Minneapolis-St. Paul area as part of this operation. What they found should shock all of America. Focusing on a list of over 1,000 target cases involving more than 900 individuals, our officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, visa overstays, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, forged documents, abuse of the H-1B visa system, abuse of the F-1 visas, and many other discrepancies. Over the course of the operation, our officers found indication of fraud, non-compliance, or public safety and national security concerns in nearly a little less than 50% of the cases interviewed. We found troubling patterns with the Uniting for Ukraine program that should have raised serious concerns under other administrations, such as an individual filing to sponsor more than 100 aliens, and organizations sponsoring hundreds. We are continuing to investigate these cases. Some of the other troubling cases that our officers found. In one case, officers identified an alien who had overstayed his visa waiver, who was the son of a known or suspected terrorist on the no-fly list. He had previously been found to have engaged in marriage fraud, which resulted in the denial of several immigration benefit requests. He was arrested and is now presently being returned to his country of origin. In another, an individual admitted to obtaining a fake death certificate in Kenya for just $100 to prove he was no longer married. In reality, his wife is alive, living here in Minneapolis, and is the mother of 5 of his children. And incidentally, he has another wife living in Sweden with whom he has an additional 3 children.
Damn.
In another case, an alien entered the United States without inspection in 2023, was released by Border Patrol. The alien married a U.S. citizen while in removal proceedings and was interviewed at the Minneapolis-St. Paul USCIS field office just last week, where both he and his American spouse, stated under oath that their marriage was legitimate. The USCIS officers conducting the interview were suspicious. The site visits were authorized the same day. The American spouse ultimately that afternoon admitted the marriage was fraudulent and entered into solely for immigration purposes and withdrew her petition for that alien. This type of same-day action for interview, from interview to site visit, has really never happened before. And I am incredibly impressed and thankful to the diligent work of the agents who...
So they done went from feeding the children, daycare fraud, this the Somalis, transportation fraud. We had 9 billion and it's keep growing. Now we got fake deaths, we got marriage scams. Well, what the fuck? They done did every damn thing. They have done everything. Now y'all need to get the hell out of here.
I'll take you right now, though, out to Minnesota. You can see different members. We'll soon see walking through that door will be DHS Secretary Kristi Noem speaking about ICE and immigration enforcement in the Twin Cities right now. So obviously plenty of paraphernalia.
Let me get to hers.
Of this podium.
Foreign terrorist organizations as designated by the Trump administration. Also, 11 of those individuals were known or suspected terrorists, people who will not be able to commit
Wait.
those
Let me go back.
atrocities.
Now,
remember, in this
But these are the people protesting ICE.
with HSI, he is the acting special agent that's in charge of this office, and he'll make a few opening remarks here in a little bit as well. We also have David Easterwood. David
Okay,
is with
let me go
ERO.
past that.
He is the America Safe Again, and these individuals get up every single day and support their law enforcement officers that are out on the street upholding the law. Now remember, in this country, with this president in the White House, we don't pick winners and losers. We don't decide which law gets enforced and which one doesn't. There are laws, they are on the books, they were put in place, voted on, and instituted, and therefore we enforce them all. If members of Congress, senators, governors don't like the law, then they should go through the work of changing them.
Facts.
And telegraphing and communicating to their members that live in their communities why it needs to be changed. So today, these officers have done incredible work to make sure they're protecting our next generation of Americans. Just since January, they have removed over 4,300 individuals off of our streets who have been arrested and were committing crimes and here illegally in this country. 3,316 had criminal histories, which means they were out there perpetuating violence against citizens here, and now they're no longer doing that because of the work of these law enforcement officers. Of those individuals, 98 of them were gang members, members of foreign terrorist organizations as designated by the Trump administration. Also, 11 of those individuals were known or suspected terrorists, people who will not be able to commit those atrocities here in the United States because we were out on the streets arresting them and removing them and bringing them to justice. Two of the individuals that have been arrested just since January were foreign fugitives, which means other countries were wanting them for violent crimes and looking for them, and they were able to locate them and send them home to their countries to face justice as well. Our officers are in the streets every single day doing difficult work to make sure that our laws are upheld.
And y'all out there protesting.
Since January, 515,000 have been arrested and deported across this country and removed for breaking our laws. 70% of those individuals had pending or criminal charges against them. I'll talk about a few of the worst that have been removed from this area, but I want you to know that the individuals that have been arrested and removed have had crimes and charges against them such as murder, assaults, homicides, robberies, carjackings, and shootings. And all of those numbers in this community, in Minneapolis and St. Paul, those numbers have only gone up since 2019. Under the leadership of Mayor Frey, under the leadership of Governor Waltz, more violent crimes are being perpetuated in these communities because of their refusal to defend American citizens. Regardless, our federal officers, our ICE officers, ERO, HSI, in partnership with our Department of Justice, agencies, and other individuals throughout the federal government, we will continue to do the work to make sure that these criminals are removed from our communities. I want you to look at these posters that we have up here at the front of the room. One of the individuals, his last name is Munoz. He's from Mexico, and he was brought in and arrested for charges of homicide. Another one is Hernandez Rivieras from El Salvador. The charges against him are human slavery and trafficking.
But this is who y'all protecting, protesting ICE.
In front of us as well. His last name is Garcia Oliver from Mexico. He's been wanted and charged with sexual assault. And then another individual in front of us on these posters in front of us is Gonzalez Rivas. Alfie's from El Salvador and is wanted for assault. These individuals have been arrested because of these individual law enforcement officers in our community and will be brought to justice and deported from our country, never to return. We also had operation that has been working in this area specific to visa fraud. Visa fraud has been very rampant in these cities, and the USCIS agency has worked on Operation Twin Shield, which is a first of its kind visa fraud operation that has gone out and investigated those who maybe came into this country under wrong paperwork or overstayed and refused to leave, and they utilized fraud to do so. It has been incredible the work that these officers have done in conjunction with the United States Citizenship and Immigration.
All I'm saying, this is who y'all protecting. Y'all can kiss my ass. Get the fuck out. I gotta go. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button. All right.